guys. So I wanted to start with a lore video that's going to be easy for everybody to process as a starting point for any of the lore regarding the book or anything like that. And I'm gonna have some news later and some explanations as to why it's been so long since my last upload. I wanted to have a lore video that started before the events that kick off the book of Icarus Dawns, like what happens in the book and everything, but is after the point where humankind has left Earth, because that's something that needs to be explained later. Humanity left Earth in a catastrophic event. Nobody knows entirely what happened. All they know is that there were explosions around the planet, the sun disappeared, and the atmosphere just started to become snow and ice and rain. 2,000 people boarded a spaceship that was built underground on the planet Earth, and they left Earth and found a new planet, and that planet is actually a real planet called Proxima Centauri b. When they arrive, they decided to name the planet Zion, not because of the Matrix or anything like that, but actually just because of a Bob Marley song. And they founded the city of Eden. In the late 200s AE, as in after Earth, the city of New Memphis begins to be built. To get into the video game, fun fact, because that actually takes place in the time frame that we're talking about here. The video game follows a character named 72, who is mentioned significantly later in the book. He goes through the events of this thing called the War in New Memphis. For reasons that can't be explained yet, a war breaks out between the city of New Memphis and Eden. Basically, New Memphis wants to secede from the nation of United Zion. United is kind of something that is used in place of United States. They base their government off of the United States because the secret government facility that was building the spaceship was in the United States. That's also why in the book everything is measured in miles and things like that too, so fun fact. So 72 is the character that we follow in the game, and in the book we follow Doctor Julius Winter when he was just Private Julius Winter. When we follow 72, we end up going in a completely different direction from the events in the book. It starts out in the same place. Chapter 5 in the book will be level 1 in the video game. So Julius and 72 are both at the siege of New Memphis. The William Lawrence Tunnel is a train tunnel that runs between New Memphis and Eden that delivers a lot of people back and forth between the two major cities. To backtrack a little bit, the cities are in like domes because the outside air is not of good quality, and the cities need to be protected by the X-ray bursts that come from the star Proxima Centauri. Basically, because the star is so unstable, it sends out X-ray bursts that are very harmful and do not allow for anything to grow on the planet. So they have lead shields that come down on this hexagon-shaped dome, like basically little hexagons all around the dome, and that protects the city from the harmful X-rays. So people have been living in these cities, and it's getting overcrowded over time. When New Memphis is built, it's to alleviate some of that. And likewise, the other city that's built later on is for the same reason. But the whole purpose of the Odysseus mission, which is what the book's about, is to go back to Earth and find terraforming technologies and things like that that will help humanity to survive on this planet in a better condition. I think it would be best to pull up a map in order to show you exactly what's going on here. Level 1 starts on Siege Day, which is Chapter 5 in the book. Both of them progress on into the business district, which in the game will be level 2, and is mentioned in Beyond the Hexagon Sky in Icarus Dawns. That follows Julius as he goes to West Tower in the business district, whereas 72 goes on to an area where he is tasked with a mission to capture a scientist. I'm trying to find a way to say this delicately without giving any spoilers. He's tasked with capturing a scientist who has headed some research that's really, really big and important and crucial for the war. We continue on from there to where they deviate districts. So Julius goes on to the west. Meanwhile, 72 goes east into Government Center. Now, Government Center is, as one would guess, a very heavily fortified area. That is where a lot of government officials work. There's a lot of important infrastructure, and the battle is brutal. In the book, we get a more subdued, stealthy war of attrition, but in the East, it is mentioned in the book that Julius can hear the gunfire from what's going on in Government Center. The game is going to be a significantly more action-heavy experience as opposed to the book. It is going to be a first-person shooter, in fact. There's weapons and things like that that are not seen in the book that show up in the game. But it's still going to fit in the theme of, kind of showing war how it truly is. So in Government Center, something is formed called the Gabriel Line. It is a line that is basically, the front of the battle that they are trying to push upward, northbound, to get to Gabriel Hill. And Gabriel Hill is where a lot of the government officials in New Memphis live. So the people who are basically causing the war to happen are up there. Level 3, 72, is on the team that goes for City Hall and gets city controls, which are mentioned in the book. Level 4, they go northward, and they are positioned to be near Gabriel Hill. However, 72 is then tasked with going to the water treatment plant, which if you have read the book, you would know that the major tide-turning event happens at the water treatment plant. So in the book, it is described as so.
A light overwhelms the room. It grows quickly in the peripherals as a flash to the northeast. The water treatment plant is replaced with a plume of flames across the silent city. A line of quaking dust approaches. A wall of heat destroys the windows and singes their faces.
In the game, we'll be able to see exactly what happens on the ground floor at the water treatment plant. Not necessarily inside, but around the area. You'll see it very up close. It might sound like the water treatment just explodes, but it causes events throughout the city, which are explained in this portion right here that I'm going to just tack on.
They run past fire and ruin. The flames spew out from holes in the ground. Manhole covers have cracked the glass dome overhead. The pressure launched them into the sky. They fell through buildings and onto streets.
After that, there's an evacuation out of the city. It's such a very impossible situation to have survived through that Linda Zhao comments on the fact that Julius had lived through this event by saying this.
But Dr. Lawrence clarifies for him. He was in New Memphis. He was there the day of the siege. Understanding where he's been, the words fall from her mouth. You survived that? He nods, and she sits back in reverence. Not many people made it back, he says. As if to look at a relic of history, she attempts to honor him with mention of his unique nature. You're the only one I've met. This fact hurts to hear, but she only means to admire his legacy.
So that's going to be it for now. I wanted to make sure that I took the time to edit the footage out so that I knew how it flowed. Now, after looking at it and having cut it a little bit, I feel confident. I've tried doing this about 3 times. So the reason why this was so delayed is that I literally made a whole video and the audio had an issue. It kept on popping. There were these popping sounds that kept happening. And because of that, I just wanted to get a retake and maybe do something different. The original version was going to be a synopsis of the first 10 chapters of the book, but instead what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do lore videos that hint at the progression of the story, but ultimately don't go into much detail. I think it would be shorter story formats. Not only that, but I think I figured out a pre-production process to this that I think I like. It seems to be going a lot better. As for the game is going pretty well. I have a lot of material that I can show. We have some really cool people that we've approached. They've done some really cool things in the gaming industry. I don't think we're allowed to talk about it. They're interested in potentially taking part in it. I'd have to potentially I'd have to get some sort of funding probably for it in order to get that going, but we'll leave that for another time. Right now, I'm just going over it with the game designer. The game designer is, they have some really awesome work. He's a very busy guy. Yeah, if I'm gonna give you a sample, here it is. If the sample doesn't exist, then that's fine. The Flint Ridge Bookstore signing. That's gonna be happening in March. It is available at the Flint Ridge Bookstore in La Cañada, California. La Cañada, Flint Ridge, that's what they call the town. Really nice bookstore, actually. And the signing is going to be with another author. She has a post-apocalyptic book, and it's pretty cool. We went over her story, and we kind of had to spoil each other's stories to one another in order to actually see where our parts get together. Yeah, I think it's going to be really cool to see those two books together, talking about them and the ways that they compare and contrast. We had a good long conversation about it, actually. I have a lot of film pitches being made. So if anybody knows, I originally started out as a filmmaker, and I wrote this book because paper's just cheaper than a production. It's a good way to show that I have these ideas that can work out and that people can enjoy them. Getting all of the material together and making Icarus Dawns was, a huge undertaking, but it really has been very humbling to realize how intense writing a novel really is. It was something I had never done before, and 5 years later, I'm like a different person, and it made me a better filmmaker too. So yeah, these pitches, these movie pitches that I'm making, I got about 6 of them. Like basically I'm trying to compile together a slate. So a slate is like when you get a bunch of movie pitches together and you're able to get funding for it because you're pitching the group of them together to people who do financing. I'm still going to do a Kickstarter for the first one though, because I would like for that to be more independently made. So I'll keep you guys posted on that one. It's slightly off topic from Icarus Dawns, but it is something that I love that story. It's a lot of fun. Having my first feature film would be nice. It's a lot more lighthearted, fun, comedy, action kind of thing. And I'm really looking forward to getting around to that. Lastly, the last thing I want to mention is that I am digging up some old childhood friends of mine called Gojo and Pim. And these guys, I made comic books of them when I was like in 5th and 6th grade. And it was just a really funny cartoon kind of thing. And so my girlfriend works as a storyboard artist. She's done some things that are really great. Again, I can't disclose what she's worked on because I think those would be counted as like promoting material of mine, and so therefore I can't be talking about other places. But she's done some great stuff, and we came up with these characters, they're designed together and things like that. It's gonna be a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to seeing these old friends of mine. I thought that I would never write about them again in my life. I thought that they were just some silly thing that I did when I was a kid, and they would stay there. It's so much fun to just kind of relive that, what was interesting to me as a young kid. So anyway, I think that's it for all of the updates, and thank you for sticking around through my explanation as to why it's been so long and what I've been working on. I'll try to keep you posted more often. Thank you guys. Take care.